as the apple tree continues to mature through the following years. The relationship between the grower and the tree begins to change at this stage. Caring for an apple tree is no longer about simply helping it survive, but about guiding its long-term health, structure, and productivity across many seasons. Each year adds another layer of understanding, and the grower starts to recognize subtle signals in the tree's leaves, branches, and growth patterns that indicate what the tree needs. In early spring, as temperatures slowly rise again, the apple tree awakens from dormancy. Buds begin to swell along the branches, and within days or weeks, fresh green leaves unfold. This is a critical moment in the tree's yearly cycle. The energy stored in the roots during winter is now being pushed upward to support new growth. At this time, watering should gradually increase, especially if winter rainfall was limited. However, excess water must still be avoided, as cold, waterlogged soil can damage roots that are just becoming active again. Spring is also the ideal time for structural pruning, with the tree still mostly leafless. It is easier to see the shape of the branches and decide which ones should remain. The goal is to create an open structure that allows sunlight and air to move freely through the canopy. Branches that cross, rub against each other, or grow inward should be removed. This not only improves airflow, reducing the risk of fungal disease, but also ensures that future fruit receives enough light to develop properly. Each cut should be clean and intentional, as excessive pruning can stress the tree and delay fruiting. As spring progresses, flower buds begin to appear. Apple blossoms are delicate and short-lived, yet they represent one of the most important moments in the entire growing cycle. Successful flowering and pollination determine how many fruits the tree will produce that year. Most apple varieties require cross-pollination, meaning pollen from a different apple tree variety must be transferred to the flowers. Bees and other pollinators play a crucial role in this process. For this reason, maintaining a pollinator-friendly environment, free from harsh chemicals, greatly increases the chances of a good harvest during the flowering period. Weather conditions are especially important. Late frosts can damage blossoms, reducing fruit set. In areas prone to spring frost, growers may protect trees by covering smaller trees overnight or planting in locations with good air circulation, such as gentle slopes. While these measures cannot eliminate all risk, they help reduce losses during unpredictable weather. Once pollination is successful, petals fall away and tiny apple fruits begin to form. At this stage, the tree often produces more fruitlets than it can support. This is where thinning becomes essential. Allowing too many apples to develop on a single tree results in small, poor quality fruit and can weaken the tree over time. Thinning involves removing excess fruit while they are still small, leaving adequate space between the remaining apples. This practice improves fruit size, flavor, and overall tree health. As late spring transitions into summer, the apple tree enters a period of intense growth. Leaves expand fully, branches lengthen, and fruit begins to increase in size. During this time, consistent watering is essential, especially during dry periods. Deep, infrequent watering is preferable to shallow, frequent watering, as it encourages roots to grow deeper into the soil. A layer of organic mulch around the base of the tree helps retain moisture, regulate soil temperature, and suppress weeds. Nutrition also plays a significant role during the summer months. Apple trees benefit from balanced fertilization, but excess nitrogen should be avoided, as it promotes excessive leaf growth at the expense of fruit development. Organic compost or well-rotted manure applied in moderation provides a steady release of nutrients, while improving soil structure. Observing the tree's growth can guide feeding decisions. Pale leaves or weak growth may indicate nutrient deficiencies, while overly vigorous growth suggests too much nitrogen. Throughout summer, pest and disease management becomes a daily consideration. Apple trees are susceptible to a range of insects and fungal diseases, including aphids, codling moths, and apple scab. Rather than relying solely on chemical controls, many growers adopt integrated pest management strategies. This includes regular inspection of leaves and fruit, encouraging beneficial insects, removing affected plant material promptly, and using organic treatments when necessary. Early detection is key, as small problems are far easier to manage than widespread infestations. As summer advances, apples continue to mature. Their color deepens, sugar content increases, and the flesh becomes firmer. Sunlight exposure plays a major role in this stage. Apples growing in shaded areas may remain pale and less flavorful. Gentle pruning or branch positioning earlier in the season helps ensure even light distribution, leading to more uniform fruit quality. When autumn approaches, the apple tree shifts its focus from growth to ripening. Cooler nights and warm days enhance sugar accumulation and flavor development. In the fruit, watering should continue, but excessive moisture close to harvest can dilute flavor and increase the risk of fruit cracking. Observing changes in fruit color, firmness, and aroma helps determine the ideal harvest time. Apples are typically ready to pick when they come away easily from the branch with a gentle twist. Harvesting apples is both a practical task and a rewarding moment. Each apple should be handled carefully to avoid bruising, as damaged fruit does not store well. Harvested apples can be enjoyed fresh or stored under cool, dry conditions. Depending on the variety, proper storage allows apples to be enjoyed for weeks or even months after harvest. After harvest, the tree begins to prepare for dormancy once again. Leaves gradually change color and fall, returning nutrients to the soil as they decompose. This is a valuable time to reflect on the season's outcomes. Observing which practices worked well and which challenges arose helps guide improvements for the following year. Light maintenance tasks, such as removing fallen fruit and leaves, reduce overwintering pests and diseases. As winter returns, the apple tree rests. Although growth is not visible, important processes continue beneath the surface. Roots remain active in mild conditions, absorbing moisture and nutrients. The tree uses this quiet period to restore balance and prepare for the next cycle. Minimal intervention is required during winter, but protection against extreme cold, rodents, or physical damage remains important over the course of many years. An apple tree grown from seed becomes a living record of time. Each ring within its trunk marks a season of growth, weather, care, and adaptation. The grower, too, changes over time, gaining patience, insight, and a deeper appreciation for the rhythms of nature. Growing apples from seed is not the fastest path to fruit, but it is one of the most meaningful. By following the tree through each season, year after year, the grower learns that success does not come from controlling nature, but from working with it. The apple tree responds to care, observation, and respect, rewarding that attention with blossoms in spring, shade in summer, and fruit in autumn. In this way, the journey of growing an apple tree becomes more than gardening. It becomes a long-term partnership with the land and the passing seasons.
Growing an apple tree from seed is not a quick project, nor is it a predictable one. It is a long conversation with time, weather, soil, and patience. From the moment a single seed is placed into the earth, the grower commits to a journey that unfolds across seasons and years, where progress is often subtle and rewards come slowly. Yet it is precisely this slow pace that gives the process its meaning. An apple tree grown from seed carries the full memory of its environment, shaped by every winter it survives, every spring it awakens into, and every summer it endures. The journey begins long before the seed ever touches soil. Apple seeds, taken from ripe fruit, are not immediately ready to grow. In nature, they fall to the ground in autumn and spend the cold winter months beneath fallen leaves and snow. This cold period is essential. It tells the seed that winter is past and that spring has arrived. To replicate this process, the grower must first clean the seeds, removing all traces of fruit flesh, then place them in a cool, moist environment. Wrapped in a damp paper towel and stored in a refrigerator, the seeds rest in darkness for several weeks. During this time, internal processes quietly begin, preparing the seed for life. When early spring arrives, the seeds are ready to be planted. The soil should be loose, well-draining, and rich in organic matter. The seed is placed gently into the soil, not too deep, and covered lightly. Water is added carefully, enough to moisten the soil without flooding it. From this moment onward, consistency becomes the most important factor. The soil must remain slightly moist, never allowed to dry completely, but never saturated. In the weeks that follow, the first sign of success appears as a thin green shoot breaks through the surface. This fragile sprout represents the beginning of a tree that may live for decades. Throughout the first spring, the young apple seedling focuses on establishing roots. Growth above ground is slow, and the leaves are small and delicate. At this stage, protection is essential. Strong wind, harsh sunlight, or sudden temperature changes can damage the plant. The seedling should receive gentle morning sun and be shielded from intense midday heat. Watering should be light but regular, encouraging roots to grow downward, rather than remain near the surface. Fertilizer is not necessary at this stage. The soil itself provides enough nutrients, and excessive feeding can weaken the plant. As spring transitions into summer, the seedling gains strength, the stem thickens slightly, leaves become more numerous, and growth becomes more visible. This is a period of learning for the grower. Observing how the plant reacts to heat, rainfall, and light builds an understanding that will guide future care. Summer watering becomes especially important. Deep, infrequent watering encourages healthy root development, while shallow watering can lead to weak surface-level roots. By autumn of the first year, growth begins to slow. Leaves mature and harden, and the plant prepares for its first winter. This is not a time for rapid change, but for stabilization. Watering is gradually reduced, and the plant is allowed to follow its natural rhythm. As temperatures drop, the seedling enters dormancy. Leaves may yellow and fall, and growth halts entirely. Though the tree appears inactive, vital processes continue below the surface, strengthening the root system. Winter is a season of patience. The young apple tree rests, protected from extreme cold if necessary. Mulch placed around the base helps insulate the roots and maintain soil moisture. No fertilizer is applied during this time, and watering is minimal. The tree must be allowed to experience winter fully, as this rest period is essential for long-term health. When spring returns in the second year, the apple tree awakens with renewed energy. New buds appear, leaves unfold, and growth resumes more confidently than before. At this stage, the tree may be transplanted into a larger container or planted directly into the ground if conditions allow. Sunlight becomes increasingly important. Apple trees thrive in full sun, and proper placement now will determine future success. The soil should be enriched with compost to support continued growth. During the second and third years, the focus shifts to shaping the tree. Structural pruning is introduced gradually, removing weak or poorly positioned branches. The goal is to create an open canopy that allows light and air to move freely. This structure will support future fruit production and reduce the risk of disease. Each cut is made carefully, with an understanding that every decision affects the tree's long-term form. As years pass, the apple tree grows taller and stronger. Its trunk thickens, branches extend outward, and roots penetrate deeper into the soil. Seasonal rhythms become familiar. Spring brings leaf growth, summer strengthens the tree, autumn slows it down, and winter restores balance. The grower learns to read the tree's signals, adjusting care accordingly. Eventually, often after 3 to 5 years or more, the apple tree reaches maturity and begins to flower. Spring blossoms appear, delicate and fleeting, carrying the promise of fruit. Pollination becomes a critical moment. Bees and other insects transfer pollen between flowers, enabling fertilization. Without this process, fruit cannot develop. A healthy, chemical-free environment encourages pollinators and increases success. After pollination, tiny fruitlets form. At first, there may be many more than the tree can support. Thinning becomes necessary, removing excess fruit so the remaining apples can grow larger and healthier. This practice also prevents stress on branches and promotes consistent production in future years. Summer once again becomes a season of care and attention. Watering supports fruit development, while careful observation helps prevent pest and disease problems. Leaves provide shade for fruit, but enough sunlight must reach each apple to ensure proper color and sweetness. Adjustments are made gently, always with respect for the tree's natural balance. As autumn approaches, apples ripen, their color deepens, sugars increase, and flavors develop fully. Harvest time arrives quietly, without urgency. Each apple is picked by hand, twisted gently from the branch. The harvest represents years of patience and care, a tangible reward for time invested. After harvest, the tree prepares once more for rest. Leaves fall, nutrients return to the soil, and growth slows. Winter comes again, and the cycle continues. Over time, the apple tree becomes more than a source of fruit. It becomes a witness to seasons, a marker of years, and a reminder that meaningful growth cannot be rushed. Growing an apple tree from seed is not about efficiency, it is about commitment, observation, and trust in natural processes. Each season teaches the grower something new, not only about the tree, but about time itself. And in the end, the apples harvested carry with them the story of every season that came before. The apple tree settles into a steady rhythm that reflects both maturity and resilience. What once required constant attention now responds predictably to seasonal changes. Yet this does not mean the grower's role becomes less important. Instead, care evolves from active intervention to thoughtful stewardship. The grower learns when to step in and when to allow the tree to follow its own natural course. In mature apple trees, spring arrives with confidence. Buds swell more evenly along the branches, and leaf emergence is stronger and more uniform. The tree's root system, now well established, draws nutrients and moisture from deeper layers of soil. This stability allows the tree to better withstand short periods of drought or fluctuating temperatures. Still, careful observation remains essential. Subtle differences in leaf color, branch growth, or bud development can reveal long-term trends in the tree's health. As flowering becomes a regular annual event, the grower begins to notice patterns. Some years produce abundant blossoms, while others are lighter. This phenomenon, known as biennial bearing, occurs when a tree produces a heavy crop one year and a lighter crop the next. Managing this natural tendency requires attention during flowering and fruit set. Thoughtful thinning in heavy years helps balance the tree's energy and encourages more consistent production over time. The role of soil health becomes increasingly evident as the tree matures. Healthy soil supports not only the tree, but an entire ecosystem of microorganisms that contribute to nutrient cycling and disease resistance. Rather than relying on synthetic fertilizers, many growers focus on building living soil through compost, organic mulches, and cover plants. This approach improves soil structure, water retention, and long-term fertility, creating conditions where the apple tree can thrive with fewer external inputs. Water management also changes as the tree grows. Older, deep roots allow the tree to access moisture that younger plants cannot reach, reducing dependence on frequent watering. However, prolonged drought can still stress even mature trees, especially during fruit development. The grower learns to recognize early signs of water stress, such as drooping leaves or reduced fruit size, and responds with targeted irrigation rather than routine watering. Summer continues to be a season of balance. The canopy must remain open enough to allow airflow, yet dense enough to protect fruit from excessive sun exposure. Occasional light pruning may be used to remove water, sprouts, or overly vigorous shoots that divert energy away from fruit. The decision is made with an understanding of long-term consequences, as excessive pruning can stimulate unwanted growth and disrupt the tree's natural form. Pest and disease management becomes more preventative than reactive. A mature apple tree with good airflow, balanced nutrition, and healthy soil is naturally more resistant to many common problems. Encouraging biodiversity around the orchard or garden supports beneficial insects that help keep pest populations in check. Birds, insects, and microorganisms all become silent partners in maintaining the tree's health. As apples ripen year after year, the grower develops a deeper appreciation for variety-specific characteristics: flavor, texture, color, and storage. Qualities vary widely between apple types. A tree grown from seed may produce fruit that differs from the original parent, offering unique traits that cannot be predicted in advance. This uncertainty is part of the experience, turning each harvest into a moment of discovery rather than expectation. Harvest seasons accumulate into memories. The sound of apples dropping gently into baskets, the scent of ripe fruit in cool autumn air, and the quiet satisfaction of gathering what the tree has produced all become familiar rituals. Over time, the apple tree becomes a presence rather than a project, integrated into the landscape and the grower's life. As the tree ages further, attention gradually shifts toward longevity and legacy. Older trees require careful pruning to maintain structural integrity and prevent limb failure. Large branches are supported by strong angles and balanced growth, ensuring the tree can withstand wind, snow, and heavy fruit loads. The grower learns to respect the limits of the tree, working with its natural architecture rather than attempting to force change. Winter takes on a new significance in the life of an old apple tree. Dormancy is no longer simply a pause in growth, but a necessary reset that preserves vitality. Cold temperatures help regulate pests and synchronize biological processes within the tree. Even in rest, the tree remains deeply connected to its environment, responding to subtle changes in soil temperature and moisture. Over decades, an apple tree becomes a witness to time. Its trunk thickens, bark roughens, and branches stretch outward, shaped by countless seasons. The grower, too, changes, learning patience through years of waiting and care. The relationship between tree and grower becomes less about control